Kia ora. Welcome again to the Rebecca and Knits Knitting Podcast. It has been a while, hasn't it? I don't actually know exactly how many weeks, but probably close to 2 months. I recorded last on my birthday, which was the 3rd of June, and today is the, 20-something of July. So welcome. Thank you for joining me again if you're returning, and welcome if you're new and somehow you've stumbled across my little corner of YouTube. I'm Bex. I am a knitter in Upper Hutt in Wellington, New Zealand. I love to talk about my knitting and my yarn collection. And I'm just here to share with you what I've been working on, what I'm currently working on, and what I would like to cast on in the near future. For those of you who are new or who are joining me recently, I am a mum of 3 girls, and I'm currently retraining to be a midwife. So life is very busy. I'm in the last 6 months of my degree program, and so it's been a wee bit hectic in the last little while, hence I haven't been here. But I have still been knitting. So let's start with what I'm wearing. This lovely fuzzy thing is a sweater that was knitted by my dear Nan. She recently passed away about 3 weeks ago, which is really sad. But she is definitely the knitting legacy in my life, and I thought I would wear the sweater that she knit. She originally knit it for herself out of leftover yarn, but it never fit. It wasn't the right size. She gifted it to me a couple of years ago, and since her passing recently, it's become even more special. So it's a 12 ply fluffy mohair. It was really popular in the early 2000s. And yeah, it's quite nice. It's pieced and sewn together, not very carefully. The seams are very evident, but it's a real treasured memory of her. And so as a knitting legacy, she's been a knitter for as long as anyone can remember. And definitely, although my mum taught me to knit, I definitely feel like my own knitting practice and this podcast is a continuation of the legacy she left. So thank you, Nan. And I thought I'd wear this today, and it's really cold. It was 0 degrees this morning, Celsius, and the sun is out, but it is still very wintry here in New Zealand. So peak knitting weather. So I've been working on lots of small projects since I've seen you last. So let's have a little talk about what I have finished and what I am working on. Sorry for the crinkles. There's lots of packets of yarn around me. Firstly, I'm going to have to put in a lot of photos actually for this episode because I have finished a lot of things and gifted them. Like I said, small projects. So I mentioned last episode about knitting some socks for my dad for his birthday. So I did get them done. And he was really appreciative of them. I'm not sure if he is actually wearing them. He thought that they were too big to begin with, and they did look comically large when they were off the foot. But of course, he didn't quite think about the fact that as fabric stretches widthwise, you lose length. And so when he tried them on, they actually are a pretty good fit. So I made these out of a sock tube that I purchased on a D-stash, and I just added cuffs, heels, and toes. The yarn that I used was a KFI sock yarn, and I did not enjoy it. It deplied very easily and split very easily, and I won't be using it again in a hurry, but it turned out great. It was the best colour that I had in the stash to match with the sock tube for my dad, and yeah, he really appreciated the time and effort I put into them. It was his mum who passed away, and actually his dad passed away just 8 weeks prior to his mum, so it's been a real rough season for my dad in the last couple months, and so it was really great to be able to gift him something hand knitted and, just acknowledge that I care. So I've gifted those. I was also working on gloves for the midwife that I was on my previous placement with. So I had finished one last podcast and I had the other to do. So I'll pop in a picture here. I got to gift those to her on my last day with her, and she loved them. So that's really great. I assume they fit. She didn't say that they didn't. But yeah, they were lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed knitting those gloves. Excuse me. So they got done. Let's see what else. speaking of small things and socks, I've been working on I've been on a bit of a sock kick, really. I'll just have a bit of a dig here. I finished these socks in, was it June or July? I forgot to bring my blockers, sorry. I made this pair of scrappy stripy socks, just from mini balls and skeins in my stash, leftovers and mini skeins and 10-gram mini balls I got from Advents. Most of these yarns are mama wooling, and you can see I did a 5-round stripe followed by 1 round of that pink, and unfortunately I ran out on the heels, which I was really bummed, so I was trying to do them all in that pink, but I just ended up having to stripe them, which looks okay, but not as good as it would have if they were solid pink. But oh well. So I made these, been enjoying those, just my regular sock recipe with an afterthought heel. I do a 56 stitch sock, magic loop, just vanilla socks. These ones I was pretty lazy and I literally just changed over my colours and knotted them and trimmed the ends and left it like that, because I wear my socks every day. I'm pretty hard on my socks. I wear them in my shoes, I wear them out and about. I wear them for full days working at the hospital. I wear them to the gym. I wear them everywhere basically in my shoes, and I put them through the washing machine and then let them dry flat. Well, actually I hang them to dry, but I don't put them through the dryer or anything, because I found the hard way that definitely makes them shrink. So yeah, I am pretty hard on them, so I know that they're not going to last that long, so I just enjoy them as they are, and I enjoy making them, so I'm not too fussed. I've made this pair, finished the ones for my dad. I also made this pair. I've been doing a fair bit of travelling to and from Auckland, because that's where both of my grandparents live, and I also went up there for a conference and to visit my nan before she passed, so lots of travel knitting, perfect for socks. This is a Waikiwi yarn, which is a discontinued yarn, but it's a possum alpaca merino blend and nylon blend. That was a really popular sock yarn here in New Zealand, but it's since discontinued, and this is a mini ball. I just had 10 grams of this fun pinky purpley colour that seemed to match quite well. I got that in a yarn swap, Advent yarn swap. So I just did a 10-row cuff, and I just knit these feet, legs as long as I felt like, and then put a toe in, and so they're a little bit longer than my regular sock, which is quite nice for my little boots. Again, just an afterthought heel on these. I have worn these are my most recent finishes, but I have worn these a couple of times and they've been through one wash, so you can see they're getting quite fuzzy already. I have learnt when knitting socks with possum content that they do felt up quite a bit, and so I have learnt to put an extra sort of like 2 to 4 rows on the foot, so that when you wash them and they felt a bit with wear, that they still fit. I have a few pairs of socks, especially ones that have possum content, that are just a little bit too snug and they slip off my heels because the foot has become a little bit too short. Yeah, because of that wash and wear. And obviously this one ended up with a little bit of blue on the toe as well, because I didn't quite have enough of this colour, but they're just for me, so I didn't really care. Lovely, another pair of socks. Continuing with socks, I knit a pair of socks that I have gifted as well. So I'll pop a photo in here. These were for a friend of mine at church, Naomi. She saw the stripy ones actually when I posted them on my Instagram and said, "Oh, could you make me a pair of socks for winter? I would love that." And I was like, "Of course." So I actually made her some DK weight socks because I wanted them to get done in a timely manner. And she was going to wear them kind of like as slippers just around the house. So I felt like a DK sock would be more appropriate for that. I can show you, I used a beautiful skein of yarn that I had been gifted. If any of you have been with me since the beginning, you will remember me mentioning that I did a yarn swap with Megan over in the US. And she's at the A Knotty Mess podcast. Can't speak. And her and some friends put together a yarn swap for me, and we exchanged some yarn. And they sent me this beautiful skein of merino cashmere nylon DK sock yarn, which is this colour. This is another whip, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So it's this beautiful fawny colour, fawny brown, love, beautiful and variegated. Yeah, so 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, 80% merino. So I used that, and then I did pink, pale pink, like blush pink accents for hers, which was 3 random strands together. I had a what did I use? Like a lace weight nylon effect yarn, and a lace weight mohair, and a lace, yeah, like a lace weight. What content was it? It was merino cashmere, but a single ply. So I added in the mohair and the nylon strand to give it strength, and yeah, and to make it up to the DK weight of the other strand. Yeah, so they were really beautiful. She really likes them very helpfully. She's the same shoe size as me, so that was really easy to make them fit. And I did a short row heel for hers. I did a shadow wrap heel, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. I've really been on an afterthought heel kick because it's nice just to knit a whole sock tube and then think about the heels later. But I thoroughly enjoyed the shadow wrap heel. I watched a couple of really great tutorials. If you'd like me to send you the link for those, just comment below. And it was, yeah, really great. And I could memorize it, and I like doing short rows. No problems there. And you could do it without having to go back later. And you don't have to catch another heel together then, which I don't mind doing, but it's just another thing to have to cut it in. It is a bit fiddly, like if you're on the go. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I'm doing the shadow wrap heel again. I used 60 grams. I think they weighed 70 grams total, that pair of socks, because again, they're just kind of like ankle socks. I did hers slightly longer than I do mine. And so I had enough, just, as you can see here, left to make a pair for myself. So I have got one done. I'll show you those when we get to whips, because we're not through all the FOs yet. I tell you, lots of little things. Yeah, she's really happy with them, and she dropped me off some brownies that she baked as a thank you because I refused to let her pay. Though she was very insistent that she was happy to pay for them, but I was like, no way, I'm gifting you these. I have no clue how to put a value on what would you expect someone to pay you for a pair of hand knit merino cashmere socks. No idea. So I was like, nah, just have them. It's a gift. And they only took me like 2 or 3 days. DK socks, so fast. I kind of followed the Crazy Sock Ladies DK sock pattern that she has free online, and I did 56 stitches. Yeah, I did 56 stitches. No, that's wrong. I did 48. I do 56 for my fingering weight socks. I usually do 60 when I'm doing gift socks. And I do 56 for me. And so I did this, like, what would be the small size? 48, didn't I? I think so. I think I did 48 stitches. It's on my Ravelry project page, people. So if you are interested in the specs on any of these things that I talk about, or having another look at the photos, I have everything on Ravelry. I always put up a project page. Some are more populated than others in terms of details, but feel free just to ask me a question below if you want some more details, or go check me out on Ravelry. I'm Rebecca Ann Knits there too. And on Instagram as well, if you'd like to follow me there. I generally post what I've been working on when it's finished on Instagram as well. So if you want some updates in between these long breaks between my podcasts, that's the place to look. Okay, I think that's all the socks. I did quite well with socks over this last little while. I still did not finish the other one of these, which was the what are they called? Marl Mirage socks by Emily of High Fiber Knits. I'm just not interested. I'll talk about that later. One moment. What else have I finished that isn't socks? I finished the toaster tank that I was working on. So I showed you last podcast that I was working away on this toaster tank. This is made with rowan felted tweed and a strand of mohair. So you can see it's made a really beautiful warm fabric. I made I test knit this pattern for the Crayabea, and I knit a second one all in kind of like summery colours, summery yarns, and then I decided it's the middle of winter. I want a warm snuggly one for under my jersey. So I made this one. I was quite limited in yardage with this, so you can see it's quite cropped and the V is quite deep. So in that respect, it's not actually that warm. This is some more rowan felted tweed that I got my hands on a D-stash, and it's 175 meters per ball, and I only had 2. And I had previously started to knit it up into a camisole, and so I had lost a bit when I frogged it as well. So yeah, quite limited in yarn. So it fits. It does tuck into my pants, which is great, but it is quite a low V, so it's not the warmest in that respect. Like, it's not really keeping you warm here. But it works. It's great. I love the colour. It's really pretty. I love the rowan felted tweed. It feels really light and airy. And it's finished. That is the Toaster Tank by the Crayabea. She has 3 different ways to knit this, and next time I think I will not do the V-neck, or I will modify it to be less deep, because I really like a V-neck and it looks really beautiful in a summer, like a summer garment, this deep V, but I feel like it's not really what I want for a warm layering piece winter singlet. But I didn't feel like I would have enough yarn to do anything other than this for this particular one, so I continued with that V-neck. But I really like it. It's nice and warm, and I get some good use out of it already. I finished that. The other thing that I have cast on and finished since the last podcast, which you won't have seen, is I knit a wee jumper for my nephew Cade. He turned 1 recently in June, and I was not organised at all. And I messaged his mum a couple of days before his birthday and said, hey, I'd love to knit Cade something for his birthday. What would you like? And she asked for a jumper, and she sent me some kind of Jamie K inspiration photos, and it was all of this like fisherman's rib, chunky rib, oversized sweaters. And one of them had like a quarter zip, and one of them was just kind of like a crew neck, and I was like, oh, okay, this is exciting. So I went searching all over Ravelry, couldn't find anything in a child size that seemed to work, like that followed the inspiration that she'd given me. So I kind of made up the pattern myself. I had just done the Mayberry cardigan, which you'll remember from previous episodes, in this colour here. And so I'd learnt how to do fisherman's rib for that. I'm like, well, these all sweaters look like they're made in fisherman's rib, so let's go with that. And then I had a look at the Lanark sweater by Rebecca Clow, the Crayabea, which is in half fisherman's rib, and that has a quarter zip. And I was like, because I have no idea how to do that. So I kind of used the instructions for the collar from the Lanark sweater and combined it with, I just kind of looked up some, like, my nephew was turning 1 and they wanted it oversized, so I kind of looked up some numbers for some patterns that I did have in my library that were for toddlers, so kind of size 1.5 to 2, and kind of picked some numbers out of the air and cast on and did a bottom up quarter zip sweater. I'll pop a photo in because it's already been gifted, and yeah, I loved it. It was so fun. It was a little bit of experimentation. I have no desire to be a designer because I got so frustrated with having to undo things and do it again. But yeah, it was great. I loved it. It turned out really cute. His mum liked it, and it fits with enough room for it to fit in potentially next winter, which is what I was going for. So I did bottom up and full fisherman's rib for the 2 body panels. I decided to make it drop shoulder because that was kind of the style of the jumpers in the inspiration pics. And yeah, so I made it drop shoulder, so I just did a straight black rectangle panel for the back, and then for the front I did the same up to kind of where I thought the armpits would be, just flat and straight, and then I split with like a 1-stitch gap in the middle and did 2 sides just coming up straight. And then it got a bit tricky because the lanyard, when I went to kind of look at the collar details, is knit top down. So then I was like, oh, okay, how's this going to work? And so it's also in half fisherman's rib, not full fisherman's rib, which was fine, which worked out much better for the collar because you actually make double-sided collar and slip the zip in between so that it doesn't show. So that worked cool. So then I did half fisherman's rib for the collar and kind of knit it kind of as she said, knit this piece that you fold over, and then in her instructions she has this really clean, beautiful way of knitting facings for the inside of the V. And because I had already got all of that, because I had knit bottom up, I couldn't really follow her instructions. So what I did was just wing it. And I made the collar and I attached the collar, and then I just picked up and made facings on the inside and stocking stitch. Just kind of winged it. So I kind of made a pocket that I then put the zip inside and sewn in, and actually turned out looking super tidy. I was really impressed with how it came together. Yeah, and then I experimented with a few things for the sleeves. I tried doing them in full fisherman's rib. That looked ridiculous. It's just too thick and bulky. I tried doing them in half fisherman's rib, which was fine, but it just didn't look that great. And in the end, I decided to go with stocking stitch sleeves. And although different from the inspiration pics, I think they turned out really nice. The one thing that was reinforced for me is that fisherman's rib is very yarn hungry. I used a lot of yarn considering it was only a size 1 to 2. And I used Flight Merino by Skeins. I don't have any more. I had I think 8 or 9 balls, and I used 5 for the jumper, and I sold the other 4. I destashed them because I didn't know what I would use 4 balls for. It was in a really beautiful warm natural brown colour. It was an undyed colour, and it's gorgeous. So you will have seen the photos come up of that. I was really proud of that, my semi-attempt at designing something. And yeah, it was really cute. And my husband, even, who doesn't usually comment on my knitting, was actually really impressed with it. And so I think he would like a quarter zip sweater. So I shall talk about that in my planning section later. But yeah, so that's exciting. It was quite cool to actually impress my husband. Most of the time he's like, oh, nothing. But it was cool. It was cool. And he wore it. He didn't find it itchy, and his mum liked it. So win-win-win. We're nearly there with the FOs. It has been a while, and these are all very small items. Socks, gloves, tanks, other socks, cage jumper. The other thing that I have finished just yesterday, and it is blocking right now, so I don't have it right here with me, but I will put some photos in, is my sweetshop blanket. I finally finished it. I've had a week off this week in between my placements, and I should have been writing an assignment, but instead I got this furious energy to finish my sweetshop blanket. I think because Laura Penrose is releasing her new blanket design, the Stella Quilt blanket, on Friday. Today is Thursday, so it's releasing tomorrow. Well, Friday her time, Saturday our time. And so I was like, can I get this finished? I had, I think about 12 squares to go when I picked it up, and it is finished. So I'll pop some photos in here. I love it. It's turned out really great. It got to be a bit of a slog by the end. I was a bit bored of knitting it in some respects, but it's so wonderful to have it finished, and it's so warm to sit under. I've been using the half that I finished last December as kind of a lap blanket over this winter, and it's now so lovely to be able to connect the second half, because I knit it in 2 halves since it was an advent knit, and I used half the yarn and only just scraped in to get it finished in December with the first half, and so I've been knitting the second half over the rest of the year, mostly over the last month, actually mostly over the last week. But yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. It's come together really beautifully, and I used the Hobbit advent that I purchased last year from the Skein and the Stitch for my contrast colour, and I used Kelly & Co, which you can see I stocked up on a whole pile more of it, thinking that I was going to use a lot more than I did. Kelly & Co Authentic Irish Dongle Tweed for my main colour, and you can see that it kind of has some flecks, some greeny, bluey, yellowy flecks in it, which kind of goes along with the hobbity colours of the event. I did go up a needle size from what was recommended and down a couple of stitch counts. I can't remember exactly the details of what's in the original pattern. I think it says use 4mm needles and cast on like 26 stitches, and I ended up using 5mm needles and casting on 20, picking up 20 for each one, I think. So yeah, and some of my squares are a bit uneven in size, I have discovered when I came to sew it together. So yeah, I definitely kind of winged it a little bit along the way there. But it's turned out beautiful, and it's a blanket. It doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah, I'm really going to enjoy using it, and I am going to enjoy purchasing the blanket pattern when it comes out this weekend. And I've already been doing lots of planning for my Stella quilt blanket. She announced just recently that she's going to add an expansion pack to this pattern, and so there are different motifs that you could potentially use. I kind of had it all mapped out in my mind already what I was going to do for my second one, and yes, now I'm a little bit like, oh, I'm going to have to wait and see what's in the expansion pack and see if I like that better. So I may change up my plans. I don't think I'll talk about that today. I'll save that for the next podcast because we have plenty of content for today. So yes, I may even have cast it on by next time I podcast. I was going to make it as an Advent blanket again, but I have a lot of the yarn because I've been collecting pink mini skeins all year for that, and so I think I'll just start it when I feel ready. That was the last of my FOs. I'll bring the blanket along next episode, but yeah, it's hanging on the washing line because it's a beautiful sunny day. I thought, right, I've got to block it today because it's going to go back to winter and I'll never get a chance to get it dry if I don't take today's opportunity. There we go. That is all my whips. I mean, all my FOs. We're on to whips. Wowzers. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee because that's a lot of talking already. What about whips? So you've seen these already. More socks. I am working on the leftovers. I split what I had left of that cake, of that skein into two, which was about 20 grams each, I think. Where is this got to? All unraveled in my little project bag. I have this in my Strong as a Mother project bag, which I was gifted in a yarn swap once upon a time, which is just beautiful. So this, and I'm using for my contrast colour, what am I using? Just, this is that Waikiki yarn I mentioned earlier, some leftovers I have from another pair of socks I made, alpaca possum merino nylon, and I'm holding that with this mini skein. I think might be Dreamfire yarns. And I'm not sure if it's even got nylon content. It might just be merino, but this has got nylon. Anyway, so I'm holding those two together for my contrast cuffs and toes. I did the shadow wrap heel again, so I can show you that on this one. So you can see, look how seamless it is as it goes over the heel. Now, isn't that beautiful? Like, I can never kitchen it that smoothly. That looks lovely. And you do see the like shadow wraps on the side, but it just kind of looks like part of the gusset. I like that. How that looks. Again, on a DK sock, really quick and easy to learn. So you kind of get a similar shape to as you do with the Afterthought heels, which is kind of just like a wedge toe. So I've been enjoying that. I find the fit good. Not that I've worn them around a lot yet because I haven't finished a pair. I did try on the pair that I gifted though, so you can see that's a very similar shape. But yeah, loving that. I was making these while I was away most recently, and I ran out of the brown and counted my rows and thought, oh yeah, I'll just do, 3-4 rows and then I'll start the toe decreases with the blue. But to be honest, it's a little bit short in the foot. And I feel like they're not going to grow, they're going to shrink. This has been my experience. So I may take the toe off and just add a couple more rows, just 2 more rows of blue before I do the decreases, to do 6 rows and then start the decreases, just because I was very limited on this. But I wanted to do the heel in it because it's so nice and seamless, not changing colours there. Also, I've only got 10 rows of rib and then only 2 rows before I started the heel, again because of yarn management. And so they don't stay on my heel as great because they're actually a little bit very small. I've cast on the second one, and in saying all of these things, I might actually just reknit the sock. Like, it literally doesn't take. I knit the whole brown piece on one hour flight. So it really wouldn't be that much effort. I'm just trying to find my cast on to redo them, and just to make do the second one and add a little bit more length to the leg and to the toe, and then maybe reknit this one. Because I can't replicate. Yeah. This is beautiful, soft, luxe yarn. I want it to be a sock that I can enjoy wearing, not that feels too small. And I'm not in a rush. I've got lots of socks, so that's a whip. I also have another pair of socks that I've been knitting while travelling. These I called my matariki socks. If you're not from New Zealand, you won't be aware, but in New Zealand we have a public holiday, bank holiday at the end of June called matariki, and it's all to do with the stars and the Māori tradition of the rising of matariki, which is the star formation that rises at this time of the year. And so these are my twinkly matariki socks. I am using this beautiful deep inky blue colorway, which is a hand dye, and it has a gold stellina in it. I have no idea what it is or where it was from, but it's been in my stash for a long time, and I think I got it off the D stash at some point. It's like a high twist merino nylon sock, and I held it with I mentioned earlier in the gift socks I gifted that I used a nylon effect, like a nylon strand. I had brought these cones of like a thread of nylon that were kind of supposed to be like double strand and add in and create effects with your yarn in your fabrics, and I brought them at a real discount, and they were cool, but they're quite scratchy, and I just didn't see that I'd use them, so I recently destashed them. But I did use some gold that came with that to add extra sparkly cuffs. So I haven't put a heel in this one yet, or kitchen at the toe, because I was doing this while away. But that will just be another shorty sock. That's how they come out before I put the heels in them anyway. Just with a rib cuff, 15-row cuff, and then I usually knit another 5 rows for the leg. If I've done 15, I usually do 20 rows total for the leg, and then I usually do 55 rows for my foot, and then start the toe decreases. I was fed up of using this strand. It was annoying to double strand in there, so I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but so I didn't add it in for the toes or the heels. I'm just doing the rest of them blue. I love this deep dark blue. This is one of my favouriteest colours in the world, along with hot pink. All pinks and corals. I love deep blues. Somehow I've managed to pull the needles out of this, but this is how far I've got on the second one. So let's see, I'm probably like just over half of the way through that one. That will be picked up again sometime soon. I'll have to put the needles back in. Exciting. So those are my sock whips. Currently, I've been off the socks since I started back on the blanket, but I will probably get back to these because I do just love to always have a pair of socks in my handbag, so that if I'm waiting somewhere, or if I'm traveling, if I'm in the car, I have 3 kids, I'm always ending up waiting somewhere, that I've got something I can work on. So I shall put those back where they belong. That's a whip. What else am I working on? I'm still working on the shawl that I cast on last time for my birthday in that stunning yarn that I was gifted by Mama Willing. Where have I put it? It is in the little project bag that I purchased for myself down in Hamner Springs, along with my little Kiwiana Piwaka Waka badge I got for my birthday, and this little kiwi that I also already had. Isn't that cute? I got that from Rotorua on a Rotorua, when I was there on a family holiday last year. So here's how my shawl's been coming along. This has been another one of my like travel, take it on the plane projects, because it's just mindless garter at the moment. I cannot remember the name of this pattern. If you want to know, ask below. I can try and put in a photo of what the finished thing looks like. It's basically just an asymmetrical triangle shawl. I keep increasing up to about 80 stitches. I think I'm at nearly 60. And then I decrease it, and then there's a cool edging that you add with little tassels in a contrasting colour, which I don't have with me. Do I have some of it? Here. This is an extra additional skein, but I'm going to be using this colour here to do the little crochet edgy, it's not crochet, but tassel edging. How do I show this together nicely? Yeah, so that'll be gorgeous. This is a single ply merino silk from, this one is from Mama Willing, and it was called Knitworthy, and my friend Helen gifted me this colour, this skein for my birthday. And this she gifted me, I think, my birthday beforehand, actually, fitting that. And this is 75% wool, 25% silk. This is a Chilean wool, Chilean merino and silk from Diana at the Cabana Diana. I think that was wrong. Anyway, it's from Diana. Helen gifted it to me, but she brought it through her. Cabana Diana. Is that what it's called? I can't remember now. She also designed under the name of Perfectly Imperfect Twists. But this is coming along. It's going to grow a lot, I can tell, when it's blocked, which is going to be gorgeous. It's a lovely little throw it in your bag project to have, because it tucks up pretty small. I'm not quite halfway through this cake, I would think, so I think it's going to work out beautifully. I should actually weigh this and see how many more grams I should knit to, because it doesn't really matter if I go bigger than what the pattern says. It's just one of those kind of increase till you're halfway through your yarn, then decrease kind of patterns. So it's a free pattern from Ravelry. I will put the name of it or the pattern up. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that. It's going to be stunning to wear once that's made. Working on that one still, slowly but surely. No timeline for it, just working on it. I'm still working on my I've showed you this one a few times, but this is my Lauder sweater by the Crayabaya. This has not had a lot of love in the last 8 weeks because I've been working on other things. And it's not really a take with you as you go pattern, because it's a whole sweater and it's double stranded and it's fully cabled. So it's really a work at home sweater, and this hasn't been taking that spot recently. And there hasn't been a lot of knit at home, but it's the V-neck version. And I think when I last podcast, I had just joined in the round, and I now have, how much would I say that is? 6 centimeters, maybe three twists on the old cable from the underarm. So I need to get to about 30 centimeters, and I'm at 6. So fair way to go there. This beautiful stitch marker is by Mama Willing. Yeah, so just working away at that. I'm using, well, I haven't really been working away on this. I'm not really sure why I'm bothering to show you, because it's not really had much done on it. I can't wait to get back to it. Like, I absolutely love it. But it just hasn't been getting any love. I'm using 2 yarns held together, both of which I purchased from Yarn on Cone. And this one is what I use for the socks as well, the cashmere merino in a single ply. It's like, I don't know, maybe like a light fingering / heavy lace weight, maybe like a 3 ply weight, like density. And then this is kind of like a fingering weight. This is a This is merino and alpaca and nylon, I believe, and it's kind of like tweedy. I have the cones up here, so I have full cones of these, which so I've just caked off as much at a time. So I'm working on that sort of. I'm hoping to get back to that more now that my blanket is finished. What else am I working on? Socks, tank. Oh, I did cast on another toaster tank because I went to the movies with my kids in the school holidays. Where did I put that? Yeah. And I needed something. I didn't have anything that was just stockinette in the round because my socks were all either needed a heel or rib, and I can't do rib in the dark. I can only do stockinette in the round in the movies. So I cast on a toaster tank just to take. I have just cast on, it's losing half the stitches, in an undyed natural cream. I'll fix that later. These are yarns from Skeins that I bought when they were clearancing them. I have a undyed cream singlet that I winged the pattern on and does not fit very well, that I do love to wear under sweaters, and I managed to put it through a hot wash and felt it a bit, and it's too small now. So I am replacing that basically. So I have just got a few little rows there on movies length, which if it had been, it was a mess of a movie, to be honest. There was dramas, let's not go into that. When you take 3 kids to the movies, it's not always smooth. But I've cast that on. And I thought this time that I would do the square neck version. I did test knit the square neck version, but I changed it to be I-cord. And so it's much more dressy, summery look. So I think I'll do the square neck, but with the rib. So it's just kind of like a nice warm singlet underlayer. So I can wear it under my cardigans and sweaters. I don't know when that's going to get some love. It's kind of just, I needed something on my needles that's stockinette in the round. So that's what that is. 100%. I didn't even tell you what the yarn is. Yes, you're out of practice. This is a lace weight. This is called Natural 2-ply. It's a 2-ply, 357 meters for 50 grams. It's a hand wash. So you can see it's just kind of like a lace weight strand. I'm doing that instead of a mohair because I didn't want this one to be fluffy because the blue one is fluffy. And the, what am I using for the cream? Did I have a spare ball? Here's a whole ball. This is Natural DK, 100% wool, 101 meters. This is a machine wash. So I probably will machine wash this on cold and then dry it flat. I do that for most of my knits. No, that's a lie. I do that for my socks. I did that for my other singlet and it felted. So I won't do that. I will just soak it and block it. Like soak it in warm water and wool wash. Tepid water, not warm water. And then lie it flat to dry. Sometimes I hang them if I actually want them to gain some length, like if it's a singlet, rather than drying flat. But I will not machine wash it. What am I talking about? I'm really out of practice, guys. Anyways, just natural, undyed. Really boring. So, but a staple that I need in my wardrobe. Like I'm really missing having this garment since I can't wear the other one. Yeah. And it's not really savable. So I need to just make a new one. So that'll happen eventually. What else am I working on? The only other thing that I have, which has been taking up most of my knitting time that hasn't been the blanket, is that I signed up for a test knit, which was stupid. But you know me, if the Crayabaya puts out a test knit call, I'm going to apply. And I really, really did not think she was going to pick me because I had just done the toaster tank. But she did. She picked me, maybe because I said I would make one of the slightly less popular sizes. This is her Kip sweater, which is in testing right now. It is a all over textured, kind of like herringbone design. It's yeah, it's cool. I'm making size 2, which will give me slightly less ease than what she recommends, but it'll probably give me like 4 to 6 centimeters of ease, so it would be of positive ease. It would be relatively fitted on me. But yeah, it's coming together. It has this cool shoulder construction. It's quite fiddly to begin with because you have to maintain this herringbone stitch pattern throughout. And I haven't done this construction before. We knit a trapezoidal kind of back panel where you increased every single row through here and then knit straight for a while, and then you picked up on each shoulder and knit over, and I did one whole front down to here and then realised I'd started with the wrong stitch repeat, so it wasn't going to match up, so I had to rip it all back and start it again. So you knit down and then you join the two fronts, and then you knit a bit further, then you join in the round. It's all a bit endy. There is quite a lot of ends, and then now I just knit straight for 30 centimeters and then do a rib. I'm actually going to pick up the neckline and do that. It's got a folded over 1x1 rib collar, so I'm going to do that just so that as I try it on I can see what it's really going to sit like on the neckline. There's been quite a few modifications to the pattern as we've been going, so that's been good. It's been updated. I'm really enjoying it. Mostly it's slow going. The gauge on this is really weird. So I am using, it's written for a sport weight yarn. It's written for a sport weight woolen spun yarn that kind of fluffs up to a DK. And she writes it to be used on 5mm needles for a sport weight yarn. I'm using a sport weight yarn. This is Highlander Heathers by Skeins. It's 100% New Zealand wool. Oh, it goes that way, sorry. This colourway is called Scott Mist. Like this really pretty heathered blue. Isn't it gorgeous? When she started teasing this pattern, this colour went on sale. It was newly released and I was like, that's it. I'm making that sweater out of that yarn. Never actually thought I'd get into the testknit, but I had it on hand, so that was handy. This is 300 meters to 100 grams. 303. And it's working up great. It's really working up great. It's working. I got gauge. I had to go up to a 5.5 rather than a 5mm because I obviously knit just a tiny bit tighter than Rebecca. But because of the slip stitches that you use to make this texture, you need a lot of rows to gain ground. So it's really slow growing. But yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. I am hoping when I block it, I'll get slightly better stitch definition because I'm using a heathered yarn. The chevron herringbone thing doesn't show up quite as well as some other people who are using like a really solid colour. But I like it. It's cool. I'm enjoying it and I'm just knitting away. It's got a really long test knit window ahead, like 11 weeks or something, so it's not due until mid-September. So hence I felt safe in applying, not thinking I would actually get in, but knowing that if I did, it has a long timeline. And I had a bit more free time this July, so thankfully I have managed to make some good progress on that. I'm going to visit my friend Helen in Fielding this weekend, and that's a 2-hour drive each way. And she's a knitty person too, so I'm hoping to get lots of knitting done on that while we're driving, now that I'm just in the round. It's a bit of a faff of a stitch pattern to do flat, and you do all that top section flat. I found it really hard to read my stitches on the wrong side, and you really have to read your stitches to make sure that your slips are lining up, because they move one stitch over with every row, and then a lot of the time you're increasing, so that changes. So that was a bit challenging. I'm really pleased. It's got lots of ends hanging off because I got to some points I just couldn't make it work, and I frogged that row 3 times, and I'm like, I'm just gonna break my yarn and go back and knit across, and break my yarn and go back and knit across, just to get like the momentum going again and see the pattern happening. So I've made a lot of ends for myself to weave in, but because it's 100% wool and it's non-superwash, it's a hand wash yarn, it's really easy to spit spice, and it's it'll come together beautifully. I'm not worried. So I'm working on that. Yeah, so that is a surprise cast on that I wasn't expecting to do. At this point, I was hoping to be working on the Lauder, but cap it is, and I'm enjoying that. You've seen this project there before, but why not match your bags to your project if you can? Oh my goodness, so much talking, guys. Okay, I won't keep you too much longer. You're probably sick of my voice already, but I had to catch you up on everything that's been going on. So, what else? What are my plans? Well, I don't really have any right to be casting on anything else. I just need to be working away on that kit. So that's my main project, I guess. That's my going to be my go-to for the next little while. I'm going to work on that. But of course, Andrea Maori did release her Rhinebeck sweater, and I didn't really initially think that I wanted to knit it. I mean, it's beautiful, but it looks complicated, and I'm like, ugh, do I have the brain space for a fully stranded colourwork knit? But then I thought about it, and I realised in that same yarn swap that I got, I was gifted Spin Cycle. And I had been planning to make a warp and weft with this by Jessie Made Designs, and I just hadn't got a chance to cast it on yet because other things kept coming up. But it's not like, when I look at warp and weft and the pictures, it really wants to be a bold sweater, like really bright and zany and like cool and like loud. That's what I want when I want a warp and weft. And this is Dream State. This is called Heart Side, this colorway. And I thought, I have the recommended yarn. I have 5 skeins, 550-gram skeins, but I have enough. How cool would it actually be to use a yarn in a design that actually calls for it? I think Warp and Weft does use Spin Cycle as well, but I kind of had wanted to make a Drea Renee knits pattern, but none of them. Most of them are knit with the sport weight version, and this is the Aran weight or the worsted weight version. 150 yards. It says worsted weight. So I thought, okay, I'm sure I could pull this together. So with the Warp and Weft, I had planned to use black. And I actually found this one, which is different from what I was planning to use, but that's slightly heathery. I don't know if you can see that. This is called Barabosa. This is a discontinued yarn from Skeins called Black Pearl, but it's a merino alpaca and silk blend. I thought I could use the black as color A, like for the feature, for the shoulders and the ribs. I could use this as my color changing yarn. And then I was like, what would I use as my background color? What have I got in stash that's like a neutral, not like bright white or cream, but something neutrally lighter. At least I have so many balls of this, which is Southlander, which is actually the same base type as the Highland Heathers I'm making the kip out of. But this is undyed. They call it oatmeal, and this is a DK weight. But it's 100% hand wash New Zealand wool, so you can definitely push it up to a worsted weight gauge. And just natural undyed oatmeal colour. It's quite rustic. Definitely more rustic than Spin Cycle, but really good for colour work. It's grippy. It's a hand wash. So what do you think? Shall I do it? This is the background colour. This is the colour change contrast colour, and the black is the feature bits. What do you think? Shall I do it? Shall I cast it on? I kind of feel like if I could get through, like I'm not going to Rhinebeck. I'm not going to New York Sheep and Wool, so I don't have a timeline to need to finish it by. But of course there is a knit along going on, and it would be quite fun to participate. I've never done that before. And just get caught up in kind of the hype of it, you know, like it's fun to participate in these things. I need a bit of joy. Like, study is rough at the moment. It's hard work, and it's not going to get any better. I've got to do a full placement of night shifts coming up. Like, ooh, it's going to be hard work. I need a bit of joy in my life. I mean, and some distraction. And the kip, now that I've finished all the difficult stuff, the kip is literally just, it's not quite stockinette, but it's just literally knit and knit and knit in the round. this could be quite a cool, fun thing to do. And the Lorder can wait. It doesn't have to get done. There's no timeline for that either. Do I want 3 sweaters on my needles? I kind of feel like maybe if I can make some good progress on the body of that kit over this next weekend with the travelling and stuff, that I could maybe allow myself to cast this on when the cal starts next week. What do you think? I don't know. Give me your advice in the comments. Do you think these colours would go well together? It took me a long time to pick for the warp and weft what to go with this spin cycle, and I decided that black was the best bet. And I have other yarns in my stash that are similar colour to this, but they're all sweater quantities. But I have enough of this that I don't have to break up a sweater quantity, and it's a DK, so I can use it just a single strand. Other stuff I've got is like a 4-ply, and I would have to then strand it with a mohair or something, which could be quite nice to make it a bit softer. I could still do that. Or I could use this one. It's a little bit more grey. But that breaks up a sweater quantity because you don't need a whole sweater quantity because it's only one of 3 colours. I think this is the best option because the other things I have are also darker, and I do think I need enough depth difference to get that contrast. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Shall I cast it on? Framed by Angela Mallory. Andrea. Why do I call it Angela? Andrea Mallory. Drea Renee. Her 2024 Rhinebeck sweater. Isn't that a dream? Oh, I would love to go to Rhinebeck one year. Anyone with me? Want to make a New Zealand group trip to Rhinebeck? Come on, let's do it. Comment below if you'd like to join me on a trip to New York sometime to go to Rhinebeck. Like, I feel like you need a group. I feel like you need a few other knitting buddies to travel with you. Let me know if you're in. Let's do it. Says me, who has no money and 3 children and probably no ability to travel, but that'd be fun.